Hello, this is Becca Petunia, and welcome to Tough Pigs at 25, a Muppet fan podcast from ToughPigs.com. That's right, Tough Pigs is now 25 years old. That's as old as the Elmo's World Wild Wild West VHS tape. Anyway, 5 years ago, Joe Hennis sat down to interview each member of the Tough Pigs team in a podcast we called Tough Pigs at 20. Now, 5 years later, I'm sitting down to talk to the folks who have joined our family since then. How did they get started in Muppet fandom? What brought them to Tough Pigs? All this and more in our most self-congratulatory mini-series yet. I'm joined today by a Tough Pigs staff writer who joined our team in 2023, specifically with her great article series, Muppet Gals Talking, although she's gone on to do other things for the site as well. I'm, of course, talking about Drake Lucas. Welcome, Drake.
Well, thanks so much. Nice to see you, Becca.
Yeah, good to see you too. When we're recording this, I'm going to see you again in like 4 days or something.
I know, how exciting.
We're recording this right before the Museum of the Moving Image is doing their 25 years of Muppet fandom event. And obviously, most of the local Tough Pigs team are going. And Drake, I feel like you're in an interesting position because I feel like you being a local Muppet fan is a big reason why you joined Tough Pigs in the first place. More so, I feel like than most of us. But we'll get to that in a second because first, I want to ask you, Drake, how did you get started as a Muppet fan? When did you start being a fan of the Muppets?
Wow. I don't remember not ever, ever not being a fan of the Muppets. I think aside from Dallas, one of my first memories of TV is folding socks, which was my chore when I was like 4 years old, and watching The Muppet Show. They were showing reruns. I was very disappointed to find out later they were reruns and that all the shows of my childhood were reruns. Thought they were all
I
made for
think
me and they weren't.
Dallas was as well, correct?
No, Dallas was
Okay.
legit a weekly family viewing from an early age.
Great.
As you
Forgive me
do
for forgetting when Dallas was on TV.
as you
That's the
do in the
problem.
80s. Yeah. But the Muppet Show, I think, was always just a big part of my life. What's interesting is I don't remember, or maybe not super interesting, but I don't remember watching Sesame Street as a child. I know I did because I know all of the characters. And I also had their first album, which just like is on repeat in my head constantly and was like the soundtrack of my childhood. So like I know that I knew them, and so I must have watched them, but I honestly don't remember watching Sesame Street. I really connected with it once I had my own daughter. But the original Muppet the Muppet Show, Great Muppet Caper, Muppets Take Manhattan. I had the record with the audio, book that accompanied it. I think I just loved Muppets. And, you know, in the 80s, Jim Henson was like a personality. He was everywhere. He was on talk shows. We watched the Jim Henson Hour. We went and saw Labyrinth. Like anything that Jim Henson did, we did. We were like a Henson family. My dad remembered watching him on like Johnny Carson, thought he was hilarious. So there was just a true appreciation for him as being like a creative genius. And I think as a family, we just really liked the Muppets. So I honestly didn't know there was a Muppet fandom. I just thought everybody was Muppet fans who had grown up with them. I didn't know it was something you could be. And of all of it, Muppet Family Christmas, we had the VHS. I watched it all the time. It kept me happy all the time. So, that was my start of Muppet fandom. I think it was just being a kid when the Muppets were around all the time, and how could you not totally love them?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like the answer to that, obviously it's different for everybody. And I've said a million times on every podcast that, it's because of my dad who in Tough Pigs lore is named Pops. But it's the year that you were born makes such a big difference because again, like you were saying, like in the 80s the Muppets were everywhere. In the 80s the Muppets were everywhere and Jim Henson was everywhere and there were new movies and there
And there were
were
specials. If a Henson special was on TV, we were watching it, you know.
like it was the right time when you were a kid. But correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you found Tough Pigs because of the Museum of the Moving Image. Am I correct on that, or am I misremembering?
I found my way to Tough Pigs there, but I actually found out through the podcasts.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So then I am misremembering. But please, please. So I want to hear about this. So how did you find Tough Pigs?
I was going through a difficult time, and I was kind of looking for something to cheer me up, and I found the Muppet podcasts, and I did see Moving Right Along, but I was like, I'm like a fan, but I'm not like that much of a fan. And then I started listening to Move It Right Along, and I was like, oh no, I'm totally this kind of fan, and I absolutely I like binged all of the uh, the series of it. And then I was like, oh, well, they keep mentioning Tough Pigs. I should check that out. And so I checked out the website and I saw all the, fun articles and I started looking there for the latest news. And I just kind of got really interested in it. Certainly during COVID, I was listening and, to all of the great programming that was going on. And uh, and yeah, I did start when I was going to the Museum of the Moving Image screenings, which are fantastic, done once a month by Craig Shimon. And they did, I think I picked up on the 50th season of Sesame Street, so I got some great sessions in before COVID. And they would sometimes mention, "Oh, Tough Pigs is here in the audience," or they'd look to Tough Pigs and be like, "What's the answer?" Craig would be like, "Hey, Tough Pigs,
He does that. He
what's
does
the
that all
answer
the
to that?"
time. Whenever he doesn't know, he just looks at the audience and goes, Tough Pigs. And then, like, without fail, Joe or Shane or Matthew and I are in the audience and we're like, excuse me.
Yeah, I loved it. I love that there were people who were, these fans that were not just there for the screenings. They just really seemed to be more invested in the Muppets. So I went to Craig Shimon's book release, which was the first book release, and that was kind of the first, I think, Henson birthday weekend. Lots of people were there. It was really fun. I ended up sitting next to Leslie Carrara Rudolph, and I heard a lot about Jane Henson there that I hadn't heard before. And I happened to be sitting next to a Muppet performer. And I turned and talked to her about something else, and she was just so nice and approachable and just like popped in my head, like, wow, I would love to highlight the female involvement of the Muppets more. I just hadn't heard a lot about it, and it just struck me as really interesting. And I thought that would be amazing to be able to just like learn more about it. And, learning more about it also means, getting to research it and getting to talk to people and really delve into it a little bit more. I have a background as a journalist. I used to work at newspapers as a reporter. So I wrote up an article about that weekend and just kind of like free off my mind. I was kind of inspired. There were so many people there, and they just all seemed like they were enjoyed being in this community together. And there was just a lot of like really awesome people milling around that was, Bob from Sesame Street was there. I mean, it just was like, and all these little interactions, it was like Craig sort of having this moment with Bob while we were just all of it that I was like, this is really incredible. And so I just kind of, when I got home, just wrote it up as like an example of something I could do. And I sent it off to Tough Pigs with like my resume, like a cover letter, like, here's an example of my work. And I had a whiskey blog. So here's a link to my whiskey blog. And, if you guys ever need anyone, because I'm in the area, I can go to events, I can report from the scene, I can do legit journalism, like, let me know. And Joe got back and he was like, actually, we could just run this article. And I was like, you can. I mean, I didn't really fact check it. I had taken some notes just for like personal memory, but I hadn't really I hadn't planned to do an article from it. So I was a little bit surprised and a little bit also like, oh, I don't know if I got all my facts straight. But I think I did okay. And he also is good as a fact checker. And he was like, yeah, we could run it. And, if you're like, if you have other ideas, let me know. And I basically got back to him and was like, I do have an idea. For Women's History Month, I want to profile like one woman every single day, like 400 to 600 words. And I want to talk to like every single, woman who's been involved in the Muppets. And to his credit, he did not call me crazy, but he came back and he was like, that sounds ambitious. Maybe we could start.
As
Well, I
someone
like,
who's currently in the middle of a similar project and has been delaying this project for a long time because of how ambitious it is, yeah,
yeah, I think he was like, how about we start with like four? Which four would you like to talk to? And we'll see if we can reach them. And he's right. Logistically, it is very hard to like set things up. So that was it was a really nice example of someone being very encouraging and yet managing expectations about what is actually possible. But I was excited then to be able to talk to uh, some of the women who've been involved in the Muppets. On the first one I interviewed was Carmen Osbar, who is Rosita, and I was like, "Oh, this has got to go well. If she hates me, like my name's going, like nobody's ever going to talk to me again." I mean, luckily Carmen doesn't hate anyone.
yeah,
She is
I was
delightful.
about to say, but also, could you imagine if Rosita hated you?
It
Could
would be
you
devastating,
imagine
absolutely
of
devastating.
all the Muppets to hate you?
She'd be like, no. So she was wonderful. And she was also just so open and just really, and I remember, I was thinking like for all of them, I don't want to take too much time. I'll take like half an hour. And then I think right around the half an hour mark, she was like, and then I was on the set. Do you remember the Oklahoma sketch? And I was like, all right. So I'm just letting her talk. Like, I'm
Yep.
not cutting her off. Like, let's just, you tell me about right handing for Frank God. Like, I am there for all of it. So it was just a delight, really, to talk with her. And I found that throughout everyone that I've talked with. They are actually so giving with their time and their stories. And, some of them really talk. I mean, one of the criticisms I've gotten, I wouldn't say criticism, but one of the notes I've gotten is that I don't necessarily bring some of the like snark and sarcasm that tough pigs can have. It's not that it can't be, but I did find when doing these profiles that people would really open up about cancer or about racism or other things, and it felt like I was a little more earnest in wanting to honor what they did. So I know in some cases that's a little bit of a deterrent from the voice, and it's not necessarily on purpose, but I think it reflects kind of where I come from, which is a little bit more earnestness than maybe sometimes other people bring. But every once in a while I can be snarky.
But I think of you, again, like you said about your journalist background, I think of you as probably the strongest, just straightforward journalist on the Tough Pigs staff. So I don't know if I actually knew that you had a journalism background. You must have told me that at one point, but it doesn't surprise me to learn that. Um, so yeah, this article series went up in 2023, couple months after your official Sam and Friends book launch. And then basically the article series went really well. It went over really well. And then basically it was just off to the races. You were on the team at that point. Anything else you've done for Tough Pigs that you remember like really enjoying or you think fondly of?
I mean, I think one of the really fun moments was we were doing a look back on Muppets Take Manhattan, and they were like, "We want to do some articles next week," and I was like, "Well, we should interview the woman who played Jenny," and everyone's like, "That sounds like, how do you find her? What do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. We could look her up. We could track her down." And I did. And she said she'd talk to me. I mean, it was just like one of those really like, oh, really? You'll talk? Oh, like next week. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, yeah. No, we can totally do that. Like, yeah, totally expecting you to say yes.
Again,
Um,
it's that real journalist energy that you've got. Like
It's sort of that idea of like, sure. I mean, well, I had done a little, I researched it quickly and saw that she had been out there on some podcasts. So I felt like she would talk. But she also was a delight to talk to. I mean, she really had some great memories. And I think that was, you know, really kind of fun, like, oh, wow, you can just reach out. I mean, there is a sense of Tough Pigs has like a lot of legitimacy. It has a lot of contacts, but it has a lot of credibility. I think that it's built over the years through, obviously, people can see that everyone cares about the Muppets, that they want to get things right, that they aren't into like bringing, the franchise down. They're not like, there are certainly legitimate critiques of projects Henson and the Muppets have done. But I think that feeds into the credibility too. Like if we said everything was absolutely amazing and we didn't really feel that way, that's also problematic. So I think there's an element of honesty that people pick up on with Tough Pigs. But that's really helpful because if you are out and about, and there's been a couple of times where I'm not doing something for Tough Pigs and I just happen to meet someone who is in the Muppet world, and if I say I'm from Tough Pigs, it's immediately like, oh, hey, there's like a nice sort of connection, I think, with the work and a recognition that like we're here mostly to celebrate. Like we love the Muppets for all various reasons. They've been in our lives for various reasons. We go to them, when we want to be cheered up and comforted. I think that's true across the board. And it doesn't mean we like everything they do, but it also is like a sincere appreciation for it. And I would think also a sincere appreciation for all the work that goes into what they do. But as far as other things I did with I mean, any of the women that I talked to were amazing. And I just can't, like talking to Brawley Cruson, I mean, she's been there for so long and she had so many amazing just connections and people she'd worked with, and the first person I ever talked with who had worked on the Muppet Show was Betsy Beatos, which just was an interest. She wasn't even on Betsy Bird, she wasn't really on the show all that much, but she had these vivid memories of being there, which was really fun to just feel like you have a connection with somebody who was on that show. And then certainly the moving into podcasting, which I had never done before, I got to do through Tough Pig. So that was really, I think, has been really fun too. And I think as far as
including interviewing one of these female puppeteers on a podcast, your amazing Gaffer the Cat episode of 70 Years, 70 Muppets.
that was really fun. I mean, that was like one of those, and that was my first interview for a podcast. So I was nervous on a few levels there.
I
Um,
remember I remember you checking in with me a couple times beforehand to be like,
well, first of all, you had to teach me how to podcast,
yeah,
so that
exactly,
was
exactly.
important.
But no, but I mean, you did a fabulous job. Like that's such a great episode, and it's so great that you were able to connect to Kathy Mullen like that, or connect with Kathy Mullen like that.
She seemed not reluctant when we were doing the setup of the interview, but a little bit like, I'm doing this because my husband has a museum opening, which I was happy to plug and then got to go to and was happy to go to. Not through that. We just went on
No,
vacation.
yeah,
We definitely went on vacation there to go to see that exhibit.
I listen. I know that that was one of the considerations when you and your family were planning your vacation.
Why would, oh yeah, we're just gonna stop by, and also, oh, I'm gonna spend all afternoon there. But which I was totally fine with, but I kind of got the impression of like, oh, if I can get 10 minutes out of her, because also it's Gaffer, and Gaffer is the cat who sits in the corner on the Muppet Show, who I love, but is not necessarily considered a core Muppet. But we got to talking and it really just surprised me. I mean, it was one of those reminders of where an interview can go when you just let someone open up, because Gaffer was more than just a background Muppet. It was like a training puppet for Kathy Mullen, which is incredible. And then she went on again. It was one of those where I didn't want to take too much time, but then she was like, when I was right-handing Yoda, and you're like, I'm going to keep
And
it
you're like,
rolling.
okay, hold
Just
on. We
keep
can't
going.
just breeze over Yoda.
We're like, we're gonna let you talk. And she very generously gave me like an hour of her time, and it was amazing. And she was really, really kind and generous with her stories. And then when I was in Bermuda, I had the chance to meet her when I was at the exhibit for Michael Frith, and she was lovely. I mean, we just chatted, and it just was I think a little bit of a dream to be able to meet her, but also to have that connection with her. And the nice part about doing it through something like a podcast interview is that I don't like when I meet some of these people out in the wild, I like don't always like, what do you say? You just kind of like want to walk up and be like, you're amazing. You don't really
Believe
like,
me, I've
nothing
been
else
there.
comes to
I've been there.
mind. But when you get to do a podcast, you've researched it, you have a reason for being there, and you can dive right into questions about their life. And for me, it is helpful to get really into the conversation because you have an excuse to.
So one of my favorite memories of your time at Tough Pigs was when we all got to go to the set of Sesame Street and you brought your daughter. Um, I don't know, you want to talk about that a little bit about bringing your daughter into the Tough Pigs family like that?
Well, definitely a highlight of probably my life was visiting Sesame Street. Um, Yes, we were having a conversation about it, and I was like, oh, my daughter is 7, but she also is my daughter. So she absolutely loves the Muppets and obviously Sesame Street. And we were planning the trip, and I was like, okay, I know this is like a Tough Pigs work thing, but if there's any way you'd let my daughter come, I think I have to ask. And Joe very kindly got it set up so that she could join us. And I think sharing it with her was, I mean, going on my own would obviously have been amazing, and going with the Topic staff is amazing because you all are incredible. And then being able to share it with her also, she's a bit of a talker, and she was very excited to just chat with everybody. I mean, she just like that's kind of how she functions. And um, Marty Robinson during the COVID pandemic, we there was a Center for Puppetry Arts auction of some sort, and he was auctioning off making someone a puppet. So he made my daughter a puppet, and then sent like another extra puppet along with it. And we've had those puppets, and we love them, and we play around with them. And I told her, well, he might be there. You could bring them to the set. He was there. He was not performing, but he was puppet captain, I think, and was around to just be there. And I think some of them just kind of are there sometimes. And uh and so we brought out the puppets and showed, and he was like just amazed that we had like brought them and kept them and came to Sesame Street. And so he was extremely kindly chatted with my daughter about how the show works and what people were doing. And he like told her she could go in Oscar's trash can. And then he got the Oscar puppet. So when she came out of the trash can, Oscar agreed. I mean, it was like, what? He showed us how Slimy worked, and Slimy is obviously a favorite. And the funny thing is she also loves Grover and Mr. Johnson. So when we were talking about like, well, who would you want to see before you go in? Um, she was like, oh, I want to see Mr. Johnson. We're like, well, that's never gonna happen. Mr. Johnson hasn't been around for a while. And then we go in and they are filming Mr.
They
Johnson.
were filming Mr.
Um,
Johnson.
yeah. And I think we both said Hoots. Maybe I said Hoots. And then
You some one of you said Hoots and
yeah.
Hoots was there too.
And
Yeah.
it was one of those delightful, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And so Stephanie DeBruzzo brought over Prairie Dawn, and they she sat in like one of the chairs that's like on set for people who actually work there, and it's like Prairie Dawn hung out on her shoulder, and they watched the filming, and I'm like, this is wild. I mean, and Leslie brought over Abby, and they were like, Abby and Prairie Dawn were riffing. I was like, this is everything you want it to be. So it just was incredible that they let us come on the set, and people were filming, and we got to see it, and we sat in Mr. Hooper's store, and I mean, just all of it was like, are you kidding me right now? Like your brain is trying to like simultaneously process everything that's happening and also like not forget it, but also like can't process it. Um, and then also all these cool little like moments were very, very fun. And my daughter absolutely loved. She's like, "Oh my gosh, your Muppet friends are so cool." I was like, "I know."
Yeah, yeah, that's a great word to describe me. I know, so cool. That's what all the kids call me. Um, Drake, any other notable Tough Pigs memories that you have? How was it to finally appear on Moving Right Along after, after that sort of being your on-ramp to all this stuff?
Also a highlight. So when I met Ryan, I was like, I think I maybe freaked him out a little bit because I was like, I love moving right along. It's so good. Like, I can't believe that your voice is standing there walking around. And he was like, okay. Um, and also, I had the first time I met Anthony was he kindly was a guest for the Emily Bear episode of
Right,
70
right, right,
Muppets,
right.
which was, I mean, I initially looked up podcasts for the Muppets to try and find something on Muppet Family Christmas. So to sit and talk with one of my favorite podcast hosts about Muppet Family Christmas, I mean, it basically was the two of us being like, "It's so great, right? Yeah, and this part's so great, right?" But it was a real joy. So getting to go on their podcast was like, really me? I'm gonna come talk on your podcast. Um, and it was very, very fun. Another funny moment was there was a Saturday Night Live movie that came out, what, like 2 years ago. It was a movie about Saturday Night Live, and in our chat, we'd been talking about possibly covering it. And it was like unclear who was going to be able to go. And I had offered to go. So I like went and I wasn't really sure they needed something, but I like came back and wrote something up and I sent it over to Joe. And he was like, "Wait, you were just at the movie." We had been at the same screening of the film, but hadn't like seen each other. They were like, it's one of those theaters that has the really high back chairs. They serve you food and stuff.
Yeah.
So we just had known the other person was there. And he was like, "I'm glad you sent this before I started writing mine." And then we like combined them. So we ended up doing a joint one without trying. But
I just can't believe that you are right. That movie came out 2 years ago.
did
If
it? Okay. All
if
right.
you, I'm looking at your review right now because I have all your articles up and I keep scrolling through them. Yeah, almost 2 years exactly.
Yeah. I mean, probably my favorite part is really getting to hang out with other people who love Muppets and just talk about it and really like going to see the Muppet Show special at Momi with a bunch of other Muppet fans and see friends there. I mean, just I think that is really the fun part about it. So that has been my sort of joy of being in this group and also just the chats that we have, like they're just a lot of fun to be able to something happens in the Muppet world and it's like I immediately go to Discord and be able to, chat with people about it. And that's a lot of fun because this is not my normal life is much different. And I think the Muppets are really the escape from um all of the rest of life. So
I think that's true of all of us though on the Tough Pigs team. I mean, again, most of us do normal work things every other time we're not doing Tough Pigs, you know. So it is nice to have this as sort of like, a little side role, you know?
yeah, I think the world gets a little dark.
You don't
And
say.
the Muppets steer clear of most of the darkness. So it's really um yeah, it's really nice. And I love kind of the joy that people bring. I mean, of course there's the Tough Big snark, which is also joyful. But it's but under it is really a lot of heart and a lot of love, which is also nice for having a place to celebrate something that I also enjoy.
So speaking of the Muppets, Drake, what do you think the Muppets should do next? Just the Muppets in general.
I So I really did enjoy the Muppet Show special. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And I would love to see uh, something like that where they bring the magic back a little bit, but also incorporate some new characters in there. And maybe some characters we haven't seen in a while. I would love to let them have a project that allows for one-off characters to come through, that allows for like a new character we haven't seen in, I mean, we've on the 70 years more Muppets Please, there's been a lot of characters that were not featured necessarily very long or haven't been featured in a while. And I would love a platform that is like stable and secure and comfortable enough that they can play again and have the luxury to fail and to try things and to give it time to let it find its voice. I think that's an issue overall with kind of today's media is that like if it doesn't go viral in the first episode, it's canceled or whatever. And there's so many shows that you hear about where it's like back in the day, they would give it like a year and let it find its footing. And I'm not saying it needs like a year or a year every week or something, but that is, I think, what allowed the Muppets to really thrive is that they could do something one week that didn't really work out very much, and it didn't matter because they always had something more coming up. Um, so I guess I don't know exactly what the project would be, but I kind of like that idea of can we just provide a platform for them to have fun and play? Because these performers are so funny. They're
Yeah.
really, really funny and they improv really well. I mean, watching Sesame Street, the people on the side, I couldn't believe that their day job is to puppeteer and then they're on the side of their day job during their break puppeteering with random strangers and some people they knew. And their puppet, I mean, they were sitting and they were playing and they loved it and they were funny. And you know, we've all seen interviews with them where they're funny and they have a good time and they really enjoy it. And I just wish they would give them space to do that. We've also been rewatching the Muppets Mayhem.
Oh my
Uh
goodness, I just threw on an episode of that this afternoon.
yeah,
Because I was working on some art and I wanted to just have something I'd already seen in the background.
it was really fun. It
It's
gave
fun.
them moments, again, moments to play. And I think if you had some sort of vehicle like that that would allow, and it's certainly with the people putting the people in charge who know the Muppets, and who really love them and want them to be their zany selves, I think I think they need that space. And I think sometimes giving them a one-off project or a one-off movie does not allow them to really like sink in and play in the way that it would allow some of that zany craziness to come out. So that's what I would love to see. I would love to see them let them play, let the Muppets play.
I think that's so important. And I agree. I think, we kind of want that looseness and those surprises that we don't always see in, these sort of longer form projects. Drake, where can people find you online if you wish to be found? And the answer can be just Tough Pigs.
I would say probably a Tough Pigs Discord. So probably the one reason that I didn't connect with the Muppets earlier is I'm not much for doing things online. So I missed out on the forum. I missed out on all these like areas where people were gathering.
But instead, you're just bumping into Joe Hennis at cinemas,
Yeah, or not bumping
seeing.
in and finding out later we were there.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I love going to the events. So I love going to the Mummy events. If there's screenings in New York, I love going there. And if anyone loves to talk about Muppets, I'm always happy to talk about Muppets.
You're gonna be, well, actually, this episode, I'm trying to figure out if this episode, it might be coming out after the Jim Henson birthday weekend.
Then I was
Um,
there and I had a great time.
yeah, I'm sure.
I really
So did
enjoyed
I.
being there.
I had a great time. I'm so
It's so nice
glad.
to see you there, Becca.
It was.
Oh my gosh, but can you believe a spaceship? That was
The
wild.
spaceship,
Totally
I
did not
know.
expect that. Oof.
Thank you so much, Drake. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, thank you, Becca. It's always nice to talk with you.
Tough Pigs at 25 is a Muppet fan podcast brought to you by ToughPigs.com. It is hosted by Becca Petunia, produced by Jarrod Fairclough, and edited by Becca and Jarrod. Theme song by Alec, Koff. For more Tough Pigs podcasts and articles, visit us at toughpigs.com or at ToughPigs on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Support Tough Pigs on Patreon or by checking out our merch on TeePublic. Happy 25th birthday, Tough Pigs!